Hey, gorgeous! Welcome to the Business Mindset Podcast with Holly Worton, which combines powerful strategies on how to upgrade your business mindset, along with practical business tips to grow your business. This podcast features solo shows with Holly and also interviews with inspiring women entrepreneurs from around the world. Thank you so much for joining us today. And now, here's your host, Holly Worton.
Hello and welcome to the Business Mindset Podcast, episode 183. This is your host, Holly Worton, and I'm back with another solo show. So today, because I've been talking so much about focus for the last probably month or so now, I'm going to continue to talk a little bit about how to focus and get stuff done, because this is a big thing in business. If we just sit back and don't do anything, things won't get done. Surprise, surprise. So you may have heard my last couple of co-hosted episodes with Joe Casey, where we've been talking a lot about how to focus and mindset and that kind of thing in terms of getting stuff done. And the whole reason we've been talking about this so much is because we just ran, over the course of the last week, our Big Action Bootcamp Challenge, which was a week-long challenge where we guided about 60 people to get a mini project done and completed. So for a lot of people, these things were like setting up their MailChimps, creating a new opt-in gift, finishing a course that they were studying, creating a short program or workshop. Often they were things that people had been procrastinating on for a while, and they wanted that extra support of having not only Joe and I kind of on their case to help them with any questions, problems, and also kind of goading them along to get things done, but also the support of the community. People were really great about stepping up and giving feedback on what people were working on. So it's been a really great week. We started out with a group call, and we're finishing it up with a group call tonight. So it's Tuesday when I'm recording this, and this is going to go live on Monday as usual. So it's been a great experience, and I think people have seen the power of setting something as a priority and actually doing the work to get it done. So I think there's no blueprint for getting stuff done in business. I don't think there's a right way or a wrong way to get stuff done. And I don't think there's a blueprint. I don't think there's like a simple recipe you can follow that works for every single person. I think people have different styles, different ways of working, and it's going to be different for everyone. And I know that whenever I talk about anything, I think one of the underlying overarching things to the way I approach business is everyone has their own way of doing things, and there are no blueprints, there are no recipes. So you need to find what works for you. So I'm not 100% sure where I'm going with this episode right now. I've got some notes about things I want to talk about, but basically I'm going to be sharing things that have worked for me in the past, things that are working for me now, and hopefully that will give you an idea of things that you can try to see what works for you, particularly if you've been stuck in a cycle of not getting stuff done in your business. And not getting stuff done in your business can lead you to just being stuck in the place where you are because nothing changes because you're not doing anything different. So I think one of the things that's been one of the biggest challenges for me in terms of running my business over the last few years has been finding a balance between flow and structure. I've gone through periods in my business where I've been super structured in how I plan my day. And then I've gone through times where I've been completely unstructured and just allowed things to flow. Now, my tendency is towards structure. I tend to find structure to be really comforting. It helps me get stuff done. It helps me stay on track. It's kind of where I naturally go. But like I said, I alternate between periods of time where I'm structured and periods of time where I'm going into flow. And I think there's a time and a place for both. However, unstructured flow really freaks me out. And I actually had a session with my business mentor, Lisa Wechtenheiser, I think it was about a month ago, or maybe a little bit more, probably 2 months now, where I specifically discussed this with her. And I said, look, I worked with you over a period of 3 months, quite intensively, over the summer of last year in 2016, where I got so much done. I mean, I was having regular sessions with Lisa. I was really structured. I had a list of things to do. I did it. I stayed on my path. I got so much done. I really transformed not just my business, but myself. But since then, I'd kind of fallen into a period of unstructured flow, and it was making me feel like crap about myself and my business. And one of the things that came up with her was, there's a time for structure and there's a time for flow. And now that, a couple months on from the session that I had with her where we were discussing this, I realized that she's right. I tend to beat myself up a lot when I'm not being super structured and productive and getting stuff done. But there's a time for flow. So, as I've kind of alluded to in my emails to my list and in my private Facebook group, and also here in the podcast, I'm creating a new technique that I'm going to be using to work with people, starting probably in a couple months. So that creative process required less structure because this is a process I kind of downloaded intuitively and had to work through it very slowly and step by step. It wasn't something I created with my mind and my logic. So I needed a period of unstructured flow in my life and my business. So on one hand, I felt really bad about myself for not being productive and not getting done a lot of the little stuff that I wanted to get done day to day in my business. But as a result of allowing myself this period of unstructured flow, I was able to create this new system of working with people, a totally new technique that's going to be transforming my business. It's already transformed my life, and it's going to be helping my clients in the future. So sometimes unstructured flow can be really, really useful. The question is, though, how do you determine when you're in one of those periods where you need that unstructured flow to maybe download some creative process or go through, create new things, to get ideas for your business, to get kind of stop, slow down, get a new perspective? How do you know when that unstructured flow period of time is useful and when it's just procrastination and, not productive for your business? That's a good question. I think it's really hard to tell sometimes. Now, I had this goal very clearly that I wanted to kind of receive this download of information in terms of my new technique, my new method, my new way of working with people. So I think that the fact that I had that goal and I had that intention made that kind of unstructured work period more useful and more worthwhile. Whereas if I hadn't had any particular goal or thing that I was working on, it might have been just kind of a period of procrastination. However, the interesting thing is, in this situation, my kind of doing busy work on the computer was procrastination. So I think this all comes down to, what are your priorities in your business right now? Are your priorities getting out there, getting visible, getting more clients? Are your priorities kind of stepping back, getting a new perspective? What is your priority in your business? What is your number one priority? And what's going to be the best way for you to approach that? Is it going to be to map out a series of tasks and a strategy and just kind of raging through that to-do list? Or is it going to be giving yourself alone time, quiet time, time to walk out in nature, time to go to a cafe and just journal or spend time alone and just sit there and meditate? What is it that you need? And I think that making this, and I'm saying this now in retrospect because when I was going through the process, it was just, I don't know what it was. It was unstructured. But now that I'm exploring this with you here on this podcast, I think that's the important thing, is taking awareness of your number one priority and consciously deciding what's going to be the best way to approach that. Is it focused action or is it time and space? That sounded very cosmic. Is that allowing you space to be creative and receive that information and meditate and get that new perspective? So I think that's the important thing. Get your priority, figure out what's the best way to approach it. And this kind of reminds me of fiction writers. there's kind of these two different camps of working. They've got the pantsers and the planners. So it's people that just kind of fly by the seat of their pants. They start writing a book. They've got the characters. They're building the world. They're writing. They don't know where the heck it's going to go. They're just writing and they see what happens as they write. That scares the crap out of me. I don't think I could write a novel like that. However, when I used to write, that's how I wrote in the past. So that's very interesting. Nowadays, I think when I become ready to start writing fiction, which I will at some point, it's got ideas, it's in the works, I think I'm going to be a planner. I think I'm going to be the kind of person that needs to know where the story is going to go. However, when I actually sit down to write the book, we shall see what happens. But when I write my nonfiction books, I am very, very much a planner. The first thing I do is I sit down, I have the topic, I map out every chapter that I'm going to write, set it all up in Scrivener, which is the software I use for writing books, and I just start writing. And sometimes I will rename chapters, sometimes I'll delete chapters, sometimes I'll add chapters, because as I'm writing, the book takes a new form and it evolves, and I realize that people need more information to understand, or they need less information, or I need to focus on different things. But I always start out with a plan. It's a flexible plan. I don't stick to it. It's not set in stone, but it's a plan. But again, you've got to find out what works for you. And I think this all comes from having a clear plan and clear goals in your business. What do you want to get out of your business this year? What would make you super satisfied and happy and proud of yourself and feeling successful when in December of this year, December 31st, 2017, you look back at your year and you think, wow, that was a great year. What would make you super happy with your year if you had achieved it? A lot of people don't set goals. Hopefully, if you've been in business for any time, you will be setting goals for your business, because if you're completely flying by the seat of your pants, it's hard, because it's like just wandering around with no sense of direction. I think even if your goals change, and even if you adapt your goals throughout the year and you reevaluate, and I think you should be reevaluating, because we grow, we change throughout the year. I'm not the same person now as I was a year ago. I've grown, and my goals for my business are different. My vision for my business is very different. So I think it's important to reevaluate, but I think you do need to have some vision for your business, some goals of how you're going to get there, and some plan of how you're going to achieve those goals. So I do think some structure, vision, planning is important, even if you're the kind of person who needs to kind of flow through things. So another thing I want to talk about in terms of getting stuff done is, I talk a lot about hyperfocus. I talk a lot about my workation weekends, and I am particularly good at just hyperfocusing on one thing for a big chunk of time. I'm not so good at doing the little tasks throughout the day. So in an average work week, I only see clients and have calls Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Mondays and Fridays, I don't do calls with people unless I make an exception for some reason. But generally speaking, those are my days to kind of have big chunks of time to get stuff done. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, I often have very, kind of half-hour breaks of time, hour here and there, in between calls. I don't have that much time to get stuff done. So it's been also really important perspective for me to realize that on those days, I'm not going to be getting big stuff done. The days that I have lots of calls with people, those aren't days when I'm going to be able to set, 3 big, most important actions for my business and get big stuff done and get important stuff done, because I don't have that much time. I need time to focus and get stuff done. You may be different. Some people can work very well in chunks of 30 minutes or 20 minutes. I hear a lot of people talking about the Pomodoro technique, and I'm sure that works with a lot of people and helps them be more effective. And what that is I think it's setting a timer for 20 minutes and then giving yourself a break after that. I would just be all over the place. It takes me so long to kind of get into what I'm doing. I need to really hyper focus on it for a big chunk of time to get it done. So again, this comes back to figuring out how you work the best. Do you work the best with little chunks of time, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and then taking a break? Or do you work better hyper focusing on something for a bigger chunk of time and then taking a break? or maybe getting burned out, because sometimes I find that when I go into hyperfocus mode, get a massive thing done, come out of it, I'm a little bit burnt out. So that's another lesson, is learning when to take the breaks. Location is another thing that's really important. I work from my home office 5 days a week, and I've got it all set up the way I like it. I've got a kettle for tea. I've got a water filter. I've got all my stuff that I need in my office, and I don't need to leave it all day long except to go downstairs and have lunch, which is nice. I like it like that. But sometimes being in my office all day, every day is just, I need a break. So there are other places that I'll go to. There's a really nice little pub down the street that's got a nice cozy chair by the fireplace, and I like to go there and get stuff done sometimes. So if I'm ever, getting behind on my emails, I'll go down there and get that done. I find that it's easy for me to focus on stuff that I've been procrastinating on if I change my location and break it up and do things differently. And I think that's why, and I recently did a whole episode on the workation weekend. So if you haven't listened to that, it was episode 175, which went live, I think it was the end of November of 2016. The workation weekend is basically a working retreat where I go to a hotel over the weekend and hyper-focus on a single project and get stuff done. So that works for me. It may or may not work for you. If you think it might work for you, I've got the definitive guide to the workation weekend, which you can download for free at hollyworton.com/workcation. That's WORKCATION. I have found them super useful. I've been doing them for over a year now to get big projects done in my business. That might work for you. It might not. Everyone that I've recommended it to who's actually gone out and tried it has said that they were amazed at how much work they got done. But again, everyone needs to find what works for them. I think one of the most important things, though, in terms of getting stuff done in a business and achieving our goals and doing great things, is reducing distractions. I've been talking about this a lot lately, again, because of the Big Action Bootcamp Challenge. But there's so many distractions in the world. I mean, social media is fantastic for marketing our businesses, but it's so easy to get distracted there. It's so easy to get distracted with phone calls, with, all kinds of stuff. 6 years ago, I wrote this blog post called 10 Easy Steps to Improve Time Management and Reduce Stress. And it was really, really big. It got picked up by Freshly Pressed on WordPress.com, because I was hosting my website with them back when I very first started this kind of whole coaching world project business thing. And it was such a massively important post for a lot of people. I mean, I was just looking at it this morning, it's got 119 comments on it. So many people read this post that I ended up doing a follow-up of 10 more steps to improve time management and reduce stress. Now, time management was a term that kind of felt right at the time, but now I just don't think in terms of time management. It just sounds so corporate and yucky. But the time management as a concept, managing our time so that we achieve our goals, is really, really important. And one of the big things that I talk about in this blog post is stopping procrastination. So you need to minimize the distractions of things that are getting in the way from you getting stuff done. So what is distracting you? Is it, your phone? I do not work with my phone on. My phone is on airplane mode all day. So if you call me, it's probably going to go into voicemail. I can't concentrate if texts are coming in, phone calls are coming in, can't deal with it. So when I have a break during the day or at the end of the day, I will turn the phone on. I will get any messages, phone calls, call people back, text people, whatever. But I don't let that interfere with my work. Same with social media. If I go onto social media, I go onto it with a specific intention, whether that's marketing my business or just checking up with my friends or whatever, but I go and I do it and I get out and I move on. So I think it's really important to identify what things distract you and stop. So like Skype. I use Skype a lot for my business, but I've always got Skype on, I'm always invisible on Skype, so I appear as though I'm not online. And often I turn it off, so if I don't have any calls with someone on a certain day, Skype's not even on my computer, it's just, the app is closed. So find out what distracts you and minimize it. Does noise distract you? Then put on some headphones. You need to figure out what's distracting you in your business and get rid of it. So another thing I mentioned a couple minutes ago was procrastination. What are you procrastinating on and why? And this is one of the questions that I ask clients in the very first questionnaire that I send them before they come to work with me, because a lot of times the stuff that we're procrastinating on is precisely the stuff that's going to get us the biggest results in our business. So oftentimes people procrastinate on doing webinars, on doing videos for their business, social media marketing, stuff that makes them visible. And a lot of times that's because they have fears around really putting themselves out there and being visible and marketing their business. So you need to identify what you've been procrastinating on and why. And this is a mindset thing. Do the mindset work to clear the fears, clear the blocks, clear the limiting beliefs so you can get this stuff done more easily. So that's not something that's going to go away on its own. I know I always talk about this, that you can't just sweep your fears and blocks under the rug and hope they go away. They don't. You really need to dig them up, become aware of them, and do the work to get them done. And that just eliminates procrastination, and it makes it so much easier for you to do the work you need to do, to take the actions you need to take to build the business you want. And again, this is all about making this a year that you're really satisfied with in terms of your business. Joe and I are running a 3-part webinar series, of which you can attend all or none. You don't even need to show up live. We've got recordings for all of them. It's called Make 2017 the Year of Big Things. So we're going to be talking about pretty much similar stuff to what we've been talking about on the Big Action Bootcamp Challenge. It's going to be a 3-part series because all all classes are kind of intertwined, but also standalone. So we're going to talk about focus in class 1. We're going to talk about mindset in class 2. And we're going to talk about action in class 3. And the whole idea here is to help people get what they need so that they can get stuff done and make 2017 the year of big things. Now, big things, what is that? It's however you define it. Whatever big things mean to you. Whatever it takes for you to be super satisfied with yourself and happy with your business at the end of this year. So, I would absolutely love to see you on this series of webinars with us. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It's kicking off actually going to kick off before this goes live. So the first episode is going to be on Thursday, so last Thursday, but the next ones are going to be Tuesday, so tomorrow, and then Wednesday, the 25th. So again, if you've missed Thursdays because you weren't aware of it, I'll be sharing about it online, so hopefully you will have seen it, but if you missed it, you will still get the recording if you sign up for the webinars. So the best way to do this is go to my website. So go to hollyworton.com/big things. And what I will do there is that will redirect to the sign up page for the webinars, and you can sign up for the webinar series. We've been doing the webinars on Zoom, and they've been really fun, really interactive, and really great places to kind of engage. So it's not just going to be the two of us blabbing on about stuff. It's going to be a lot of engagement from other people. People have been really just chatty and conversational, and it's been a lot of fun to do these webinars that we've done so far. So I would love to see you on this webinar series. Again, it's hollyworton.com/big things. So I hope you found this podcast useful. I mean, I think the overarching thing from it is that you need to find what works for you, which I say always. But it is really important to identify your goals and your plan and your vision for your business. Because if you don't have those things clear, then you don't know where you're going. You're just kind of wandering around in the dark. And as I discussed at the beginning of this, I think there's a really big difference between kind of unstructured flow and just wandering around with no sense of purpose or idea. It's like you're lost in the dark and you're just kind of wandering around in the fog. So I think there's a big difference between that. And like I said, there's a time for structure and there's a time for unstructured flow. But even when you're in that unstructured flow process, you need to be kind of working towards something or being aware of what you want to allow to happen, whether that's a new perspective, creative downloads, or whatever. So I hope you found this useful in terms of exploring the best ways for you to make 2017 the year of big things and get stuff done in your business in a way that feels aligned and congruent and manageable and doable and not overly stressful. If you're listening to my podcast and if you've been drawn to the way I present things and talk about things, you're probably not one of those people with a type A super driven personality. If you are, probably don't pay attention to what I say and just drive and get stuff done your way. You may have noticed that's not my style. So again, you've got to find out what works for you. Another thing I wanted to draw your attention to before I sign off today is I've got a very lovely person who is helping me out with transcripts. So about once a week, she's doing transcripts for some of the older episodes, kind of randomly based on what her interests are. So I wanted to call your attention to the episodes that now have transcripts. So the first one is episode 155, which is a co-hosted show with Joe Casey. That's the one where we talk about how to get a book out of your head and onto Amazon. And those are available for free. They're copied and pasted right on the website, so you don't even have to do anything to get them. But if you would like to download a PDF of the transcript, you can do that as well in the show notes. No opt-in required. You just click, it's hollywharton.com/155, and you can download the transcript for how to get a book out of your head and onto Amazon. There also is a free download for that episode, which you can find in the show notes. The other episode that I've got transcripts for is another co-hosted episode with Joe on how to know whether you need business coaching, mentoring, or a mastermind, and when. So that's hollywharton.com/164. And again, just scroll down to the bottom of the show notes and you can find the transcript there, copied and pasted in the show notes, but also available for a free PDF download, no opt-in required. The latest one that I've got transcripts for is episode 172 with Lizzie Goddard, where she talks about how to revolutionize your email marketing with ConvertKit. And Lizzie has some super great tips on how to use ConvertKit. And she's absolutely wonderful. I've been using ConvertKit for over a year now. Love it. And Lizzie is the number one expert on this. So I'm just super excited to have had her on the show and to have transcripts now for that episode. So that's hollywharton.com/172. That's all for now. Again, I hope you found this interesting and useful, and I would love to have you join us on our webinar series, whether you join us live or whether you join us for the recordings. Again, that's hollywharton.com/big things. That's all together, BIGTHINGS. So that's all for now. Thank you for listening, and remember to visit hollywharton.com/183 for the show notes on this episode, and hopefully we'll have a transcript at some point in the future. Thank you very much for listening, and have a great day.
Thanks so much for listening to the Business Mindset Podcast with your host, Holly Worton. You can find more information about today's episode, including links for topics that were discussed at hollywharton.com. And if you enjoyed this episode, please remember to head over to iTunes and leave a quick review of this podcast. It just takes a minute. Thank you.